Hello, my name is Carlos Torres, and I welcome you to this week's edition of the Back Nine Report. Every week, my co-host Fred Altvater and I get together checking on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews. Hey, we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, we have it for you. Fred, how are you this week?
Well, Carlos, I'm a little hot under the collar, actually. As I was telling you earlier, we're up here in Cadillac, Michigan. It's over 90 degrees every day this week. No rain in the forecast. Very, very dry. It's unusual for it to hardly go over 80 degrees here ever. And if it is, it's just for a couple of days. But it's been very hot, way in the 80s and now in the 90s for about a month up here. So it's very, very hot, and that's really unusual. So we're dealing with it. We're standing in air conditioning. We're keeping cool. We're okay. Hey, lots of golf news this week. Bryson DeChambeau used that long game to perfection in Detroit to win this week. You called the Zalatoris win at Colorado last week, so we're going to have to talk about that on the Korn Ferry Tour. And do you realize, Carlos, there's only 36 days until the FedEx Cup Playoffs start? We're at the end of the season, and the season's barely begun. As always, got a ton of golf to talk about. But my question to you is, did you put your money where your mouth is on Zalatoris on DraftKings last week?
I wish DraftKings would have the Korn Ferry Tour. Fortunately, they don't. So whenever they do, I think they know that's why they don't want me to take their money. But we'll talk about Will pretty soon in our recaps. But let's start talking, like you mentioned. Let's talk about the PGA Tour. Bryson. We have to talk about Bryson DeChambeau. He became the first player to win on the PGA Tour, and he averaged over 350 yards off the tee and won. So he shattered Tiger Woods' record when he did the U.S. Open in 2005, which was 300. He averaged 341.5 yards off the tee. So he definitely shattered that one at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. The golf scientist, he weathered a back nine par 5 bogey that he had with 3 consecutive birdies to finish, and then he won by 3 strokes. Now, Bryson, as we all know, he added speed and bulk, and seems to be paying off already with 4 top 10s in a row since the restart. He's been the only player to manage that. Safe to say he's the hottest player on the planet right now. He also became the first PGA Tour winner to lead the field in strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained putting in the ShotLink era. So he's not only doing it off the tee, he's doing it on the green. So, DeChambeau simply bullied the Detroit Golf Club this week. He averaged over 350 yards off the tee for the week and over 360 yards in the final round. So when things needed to be in the thick of it, he was just having it. Now, on the 471-yard par 4 18th on Sunday, he drove it an insane 366 yards to leave himself just 98 yards in. I mean, he's 26 years old right now, and he finished at 23 under par after a 65-700 finish for his 6th PGA Tour title. And this win has been preceded by 3 straight top 10 finishes at the Charles Schwab Challenge, at the RBC Heritage, and the Travelers Championship since the tour returned to action. Right now, he's moving up to 7th in the world. Fellow Americans Matthew Wolff, Kevin Kisner, and Ryan Armour rounded out the top 4. With Wolff, he was hanging out there around until DeChambeau effectively sealed the win with that birdie putt. Matthew Wolff, who held a 3-stroke lead after 54 holes, I really thought he had a great chance to finish it up, but he finished second place after 71, 1 under, included 5 bogeys. I mean, he was 2 over after 6 holes, so that's not the way that you want to get it. He's just 21 years old. He could have been the youngest 2-time winner on the PGA Tour since Tiger Woods. I think it's just a matter of time for him. I've always said that I think that he will have the better career out of the 3 up-and-coming, 3 of rising stars, Morikawa, Hovland, and him. But now, Fred, I'm going to pass it on to you. But there's some things I want to, after that, discuss about Bryson when you're done with your recap of the tournament. So what's your take on Bryson's win?
Well, his the mad formula is working, right? Since February, he has finished 5th, 2nd, 4th, 3rd, 8th, 6th, and 1. That's a bunch of top tens. You know, Webb Simpson really played well on Thursday and Friday. He really played well in the first round. He just had everything going. It was really working. But he kind of faded on the weekend, you know, and the announcers were making a big deal. Well, Webb Simpson is playing the best, you know, in the world right now. Maybe he's really number one. Bryson DeChambeau is playing the best of anybody in the world right now. Yeah, you got Rory and Brooks up there at number one and number two, and Rory is playing pretty well. But Bryson DeChambeau is, you know, he is by far the best right at the minute. You know, he's getting a lot of negative attention. You know, they got on him last year for playing too slow. You know, his odd mannerisms and what he tries to do. Maybe people, just because he's different, he's getting some negative press. He did bring a little bit on him the other day. A cameraman, when he hit a bad shot, a cameraman stayed on him for a while. He didn't like that, so he got mad at the cameraman, made a big deal about it. He's got to learn to control that and not do that kind of stuff. What really surprises me though with DeChambeau is, as straight as he is hitting the ball, he's finding fairways. Yeah, he will hit the occasional foul ball, but he's so far down, he's past all the trouble. He's still got a little wedge shot in or something, so it's not a big deal for him. I mean, he is just killing it, and he's keeping it in the fairway. So that was really surprising to me. Here's some numbers for you. He is the first player in the 16 years of shot length and strokes gained to lead the field in both driving and putting. Averaged over 350 yards. He averaged 328 on all drives on a tree-lined Detroit golf club compared to the rest of the field, which was 297. So, I mean, he just blew everybody away on that. Reached 23 under par. You know, that's really something. Drives Sunday. He's playing with Troy Merritt on Sunday, right? And his drives, or the total of his 18 holes, he drove it 423 yards longer than Troy Merritt. That's just unbelievable for a pro. You know, Carlos, we have seen this before. Guys come out on tour, they're longer than everyone else. John Daly comes to mind. The question is, can DeChambeau keep up this pace? Will the high food intake and the violent swings take a toll on his body? You know, we've talked about this, the extra weight. Is it going to affect his knees? Is the hard swings going to affect his back and his shoulders? I know all this training is supposed to help alleviate that, but extra weight on your knees is not a good thing. They do a lot of walking up and down hills. So I have yet to, he has to prove that to me, that whole deal. Matt Wolff, great week. Just couldn't close it on Sunday. I don't know if you saw his scorecards. They were like a geometric nightmare. A lot of circles, double circles, a lot of squares. The other day, Saturday, I think he had like 4 pars or something like that on the whole round. It was all bogeys and birdies and eagles. Hey, my guy Kevin Kisner slipped in there for a 3rd place finish. The good golf course for Kisner. Keep it between the trees. It wasn't that long. Danny Willett, surprising. You know, he moved up 26 spots on Sunday, finished 4th. You got Ricky Fowler, who's a Rocket Mortgage guy. He was T12, moved up 28 spots on Sunday. Scoring was not as low on Sunday. The course was dried out. It was really firm, played fast. So it just wasn't the low scores we saw when the greens were soft. Detroit Golf Club is not that long. They had the soft greens early in the week. They were just firing at the pits. I was watching Thursday and Friday. The quality of golf on Thursday and Friday was outstanding. -5 made the cut. That's the lowest on tour. It was last year. It was again. It will be again this year. So, you know, and there wasn't a lot of talk about COVID. It was mostly about the golf. So I really like that, Carlos. I really felt like this was the first week that we're really kind of back to golf, and we're not just talking about COVID, and it's not just an anomaly. I thought and Detroit Golf Club did a good job putting on their tournament. Kudos to them. It was a good event. I liked it, Carlos.
Yeah, I think part of why we were not talking, or they were not talking that much about COVID, is because of what the PGA Tour did. It did it before the people would get into the tournament. So everybody that was there was just to play. And but what I wanted to talk about, and I want to get something straight out there, and you touched a little bit on it, so I'm just going to expand on it. You know, I had been asked in the past few weeks, and now more than that Bryson earned another win. When you have heard me give some grief to Bryson on him, and the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup, it has never been about his individual game, but how he would adapt to play with someone else in a very specific team event like those. Now, when I have said that he looks like a holster now, it's all in good fun, and I'm sure Bryson has taken it very well from anybody else who says that. I mean, if you see him walking alongside other golfers, you can definitely see the difference. You see him by the side of normal golfers look thin. Even the well-built ones like Dustin Johnson and Gary Woodland, they look thin to him. Heck, Ricky Fowler looked like his kid.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing to shame him about. On the contrary, I mean, he's bulked up and the more power to him. But I did have my reservations on whether all that bulk would work. That's what I was saying, especially on these courses that are made for ball strikers. But also we tend to forget that Bryson has always been a very good ball striker. And always we affiliate raw power with the lack of finesse. That is not the case on him. Beyond his signature old school cap that he has, the Bryson DeChambeau that won on Sunday really does not look much like the one we were seeing even late last year. As many of you know now, this DeChambeau has added more than 30 pounds of muscle with an absurd diet and workout regimen. The result is a swing that looks more out of a long drive competition, or like that video by Mike Trout at Top Golf, than any competitive PGA Tour player. I mean, it looks like he's mad at the ball when he swings it. He was clocked at 196 miles per hour, 343 yards of pure carry. That's absurd. Like I mentioned, he shattered Tiger Woods' 341.5 mark at the Open in 2005. Now, DeChambeau has always been known as idiosyncratic with his equal length irons, but deliberately hulking out so he can drive the green on par fours is quite a line of thinking, okay? His putter was also a major factor in his win. He led the field in shots gained, putting, as well as off the tee. That is amazing. Now, let me read to you some of the words from Bryson's after his win. And he said, you know, this is a little emotional for me because I did do something a little different. I changed my body, changed my mindset in the game, and I was able to accomplish a win while playing a completely different style of golf. And it's pretty amazing to see that, and I hope it's an inspiration to a lot of people that if they set their mind to it, you can accomplish it. Those are his words. I know he has definitely changed people's minds and belief about what a power player can do. Now, his next step will be to show that this latest experiment can work in a more competitive field. You can bet he'll have plenty of eyes on him when he tries, and he keeps going on now. Like you mentioned, he had this incident with the cameraman. Look, Tiger Woods, if anybody has the eyes on him, not of the world, but of everybody, it's Tiger Woods. It comes with the territory. He has to learn with that. Now, he has already, I was checking, he has already been tapped as the favorite to win the PGA, the US Open, and Masters. I just have two questions. You know, he said he hopes to serve as an inspiration to others, that some others will see what he's doing and try to replicate it and set their minds to it and win. We will see others follow his example and bulk up as the new way to approach the game like he has done. And if that's the case, for me, the question is whether, like you were mentioning, if this is really sustainable. That is really the question that everybody will have on him, because I cannot see him keeping swinging like that every day without surely doing some long-term damage to his back in years to come. Look at Tiger and others. Freddie Couples. I mean, it's not only him. I have to give him props, Fred. I mean, he has been thinking outside of the box and brought the unconventional to light and be successful with it. No matter what anybody says, he has stick to his plan. He's been successful. Kudos to him on that one.
You're exactly right, Carlos. This is his whole deal, right? I mean, he didn't get this from anyone else. He's done the research. He's done the thinking on it. This is what he thinks will work. He's run the numbers on it, and it is working. It's unbelievable. We've never seen anybody on tour hit the ball like this. This is phenomenal stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've seen long guys, but we're talking about, when we were talking long before, we're talking about 310 or 305 or something. Now we're talking 350. That one drive he hit the other day hit a hard spot in the fairway. What was it was a 384-yard par 4. He was right up off the fringe or something. Yeah, just amazing what he's doing. And like I say, he's hitting it straight. He's keeping it in the fairway, keeping it in play. So he's getting it places where he can get it up and down and make a lot of birdies. So, you make up a really good point here. The next thing is majors. How's he going to do in majors? Is this going to work for majors? I don't see it. I don't know if it'll work at the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open is not really a long drive or deal normally. It's more of a control type game. So we will see with that one. But the PGA, definitely, they usually set up the golf course so you can go after the golf ball a little bit and get it out there. Now, Harding Park is pretty tight. There's a lot of trees there. So I don't know if that long game will play there or not. We'll see. But, yeah, the next thing for him is majors. And he is really dominating on tour right now. So also, before we leave here, I got to get a shout out to my guy, Ryan Armour, right? He's a Buckeye, Ohio State guy, Carlos. So you're going to see a theme throughout the show tonight, Carlos. I'm just warning you ahead of time. But the Buckeyes are doing well on the tour right now.
Yeah, I bet we're going to be talking about the Buckeye State pretty soon. I mean, constantly today. But anyway, let's move on. Just to finish that, I mean, we're on uncharted territories with Bryson DeChambeau. So definitely everything that happens from now on, everybody will be with their eyes on him. Now, moving on. Countless times we have done this, okay? With names such as Hideki Matsuyama, John Ram, Sander Schauffele, Tommy Fleetwood, Danny Willett, Thomas Peters, and many others, before they became household names. We said here they will soon be challenging the top of the leaderboards. They're the household names now. We made you aware of youngsters.
I don't know anybody in the country that finds this young talent and starts talking about it early better than you do. You always have your eye on these young guys and girls, and you see them coming up. You know who's going to be winning.
Here at the Back at 9 report, we made you aware of youngsters such as Matthew Fitzpatrick, Patrick Cantley, Hockey Neiman, Matthew Wolff, Colin Morikawa, Rick Hovland, before they made their jump to the big leagues. And that is on the men's side. I mean, we can have a whole show recapping all the talent that we have brought awareness on the women's side also. Fact is, here on the Back 9 report, when we put the sign of the B9R rising star on a golfer, it's not a matter of if that golfer will become a winner.
Just when.
It's a matter of when. That counted. Back 9 report. Now, the last name to keep proving that fact is Will Zalatoris. And he was precautious throughout his early golf career. He qualified for the U.S. Junior Amateur at age 12. 4 years later, he won that championship. He then earned the Arnold Palmer Scholarship as a freshman at Wake Forest. Notched 4 wins in his college career. Set the Demon Deacons season scoring record. Seemed like only a matter of time before Will make his mark in the pros. And after trending upward in the Korn Ferry Tour's return to golf from the coronavirus break, he's just 23 years old, and he secured his first title on Saturday at the TPC Colorado Championship at Huron Lakes in Berthoud, Colorado. I mean, he was so confident after taking the lead into the final round for the second time in a month that he wrote his caddy Ryan, here's a check with your share of the winner's payout before even teeing it off on Saturday. My God, that's confidence. If that's not it, you tell me something else. I mean, he put pen to paper and closed with a 3-under par 69 to finish at 15 under and edge by one shot at Chase Johnson. I mean, Chase was really chasing him. He charged for the course record 63, fashioned 10 birdies, and almost made it. But it was at the end Will Zalatoris who won the $108,000 first prize and pushed him to the top of the Korn Ferry Tour money standings. It was nearly as big a day for Johnson as well. I mean, Chase, who had only conditional status entering the week, and now with that 54,000 check, has secured his card for the rest of the season. Now, let's make this. The win is an exclamation mark following a fine run of play on which Will Zalatoris finished T6, T3, and solo fourth in 3 events since the Korn Ferry Tour returned to action following a 3-month break due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So you can say Bryson DeChambeau has been hot in the PGA Tour. It was Will Zalatoris the same way, just not minus the monster drives, right? But Zalatoris had 2 other top 10s in his first 5 tournaments before play stopped. He started this last season with no status, but earned his Korn Ferry Tour's card with 6 top 25 finishes. Now, here's the deal for him. He has set his sights on a battlefield promotion to the PGA Tour that 3 wins would afford him, because there will be no promotions via the Korn Ferry standings at the end of the year because of this truncated schedule caused by the coronavirus. Though he's been successful at every level, Zalatoris also has watched 6 members. He played on the 2017 U.S. Walker Cup team on which he played, and they have reached the PGA Tour. Even his current roommate, here in Plano, Texas, Davis Riley, who's number 3 right now on the Korn Ferry Tour, notched his first win earlier in this year in the Korn Ferry Tour's Panama event. Zalatoris finally now has a pro trophy of his own. And Fred, to everyone out there that are now thinking, because I mentioned Plano, Texas, just because he lives here, just like me, that's not the reason why I had been high on him, okay? That's not it. I mean, I know, I admit it, Plano, Texas is not the center of the golf universe, just like Ohio is. So, Fred, how about the win by Will Zalatoris?
Well, you made a good point there. In his last 9 starts, Zalatoris has had he's had 6 top 10s, and only one of those was a 9th. The other 5 were top 6. So he's been playing at a very high level. And like you said, really improving over the last 4 weeks, 6-3, 4-1. So, yeah, he's been around for a while. He started out as a great junior, played college golf. But more important, you kind of just skipped over this Chase Johnson guy. I'm not sure. Do you know where Chase Johnson is from, Carlos?
I know we were gonna go for the
Kent State University, which happens to be just south of Cleveland, right here in the great state of Ohio. He's a great guy. He's from Akron, so he's an Ohio guy. Another Ohio guy plays as well in the pro golf. What do you think? Hey, I want to talk about this Eric Barnes a little bit, Carlos. I found this story really good. We talk all the time about golfers are guys. I mean, they got families, they got obligations, they got things to do. Especially these guys on the Korn Ferry Tour, these minor tours, they're not making a lot of money. And if they got wives and kids and families and all this stuff, they still got to make some money. It doesn't matter, COVID shuts down golf, they still got to make some money. So he gets a job during the shutdown. He gets a job at Publix down there in Florida near where he lives. And so he's getting up at 3 in the morning to be at his job at Publix at 4 a.m., stocking shelves, working with the inventory all day till like 3 in the afternoon. Then he gets off. He's on the golf course by 3:30, 4 o'clock. He practices till maybe 6 or 7, goes home, eats dinner with his wife and kids, goes to bed at 9, gets up and does it all again the next. That was how he was on lockdown. So he got in a lot of practice. He really worked. He made some money off the golf course during the pandemic and when they were on shutdown. and he's still got his work on the golf course. It shows. He's come back. He's playing really well. So kudos to him. But I found that story really, really unique, and I had to bring that up, Carlos.
It's really interesting, and it brings you something else into play. I mean, everybody thinks just because you're a golfer, you're going to have all the money in the world and you just can be without having to be like everybody else, having a job. That tells you, hey, it's only those big guys on the top that really have it really good. Those that are in all those minor tours, if they don't win money there, they have nowhere to get that money from. Even if they win, it's so small, the purses, it doesn't mean that they have it done for them. That's why they practice so much and they have to go try to get to the bigger tours where they can try to earn some of that money on a bigger way. But anyway, with that, we wrap up our weekend backswing where we recap the weekend's action. Now we go for the forecall. There's 2 weekends tournaments that we're going to talk to you about. We're going to preview them. And let's start talking about the PGA Tour and the Memorial Tournament. I mean, they have been forced to backtrack on its plans for fans to return next week to what they call due to the rapidly changing dynamics of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's a quote. Now, there were set to be 20% of the usual capacity of the fans on site at Muirfield Village, but due to that increasing number of COVID-19 cases in Ohio, it will be played without fans. Ohio, unfortunately, reported over 1,300 new cases on last Thursday, 1,091 on Friday, 926 on Saturday, 968 on Sunday. Now, all 4 of the PGA Tour's most recent tournaments have gone ahead without crowds. Still remains to be seen when fans will be allowed to return. Both the PGA Championship and the U.S. Open will not be allowing crowds. This week's event, the Workday Charity Open, will take place at Muirfield Village as a replacement for the John Deere Classic. Now, you might remember it was canceled due to the revenues lost by no ticket sales, and the updated PGA schedule will be rolling now to the 2020 Workday Charity Open, which will tee it off on Thursday, July 9th from Muirfield Golf Club in Dublin, Ohio. You might remember that the PGA Tour and the John Deere back in May announced that John Deere Classic would be replaced by a new event due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Enter the Workday Charity Open. The John Deere Classic will return to the tour schedule next year for its 50th playing. Now, the Workday Charity Open will be the first of back-to-back events at Muirfield Village. It will feature 7 of the top 15 players in the world. It will be marking a return for players like Brooks Koepka, John Ram, and Justin Thomas, all of whom skipped last week's Rocket Mortgage Classic. They will be joined by last year's Memorial winner, Patrick Cantley, Patrick Reed, Xander Schauffele, Hideki Matsuyama, Justin Rose, and Sanjay Im. Those at the top end. Now, tossing Matt Kuchar, Gary Woodland, Jason Day, Ricky Fowler, Jordan Spieth, Bubba Watson, Phil Mickelson, Mark Leishman, Victor Hovland, Joaquin Niemann, Colin Morikawa, Shane Lowry, Louis Oosthuizen, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Ian Poulter, Brent Snedeker, Billy Horschel, and Scotty Scheffler into the mix. And that overall purse should be probably higher than $6.2 million with all those names there. I mean, for reference, next week's Memorial will be $9.3 million to be split between a very smaller field. Fred, following Kevin Na's back withdrawal, right, because of his back, this Workday Charity Open will feature 156 entrants and a pretty good field. I mean, how about the Workday Charity Open and the news that the Memorial Tournament will be played without fans?
Yeah, the announcement that the Memorial will not have fans just came out today. We got the press release this morning. And that really kind of came as a shock to me, actually. The governor had okayed, the state health department had okayed the plan that the Memorial had put together to have fans. But I think in the end, they just felt they couldn't keep the players, the volunteers, and the fans safe enough. And so they just said, you know what, we better not do this. What really concerns me is that in 2 weeks, the Marathon Classic is to be held in Toledo, and it was supposed to be the first tournament back for the women with fans. And Judd had told me, the tournament director told me, he really didn't want to have the Marathon Classic without fans. So I sent a note to them today asking if they knew what was going on, and they haven't gotten back to me. So can't give you an answer on that one. But this really surprises me that that Jack and the Memorial are going to go ahead without fans. Now, as far as the Workday Charity class or Open this week, with it's also there at Muirfield, so we get to see Muirfield back-to-back weeks. What a treat! It's a beautiful place. Also, something unique going to happen this week. Jim Bones Mackay is coming out of retirement for a couple weeks. He had heard that Matthew Fitzpatrick was looking for a caddy because his caddy Billy Foster was back in the UK and has not come over here yet. So Bones gave Matt a call, and he says, "Hey, I hear you might need a caddy for a couple weeks. You wanna pick an old guy?" And so Bones is gonna caddy for a couple weeks here. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe might help Matt, get a high finish here at Muirfield. You know what, Matt Fitzpatrick, Muirfield is a perfect golf course for play. He's long enough. He has enough control. He should do very well. And maybe with Bones leading him around there a little bit, maybe it'll really help him. So I'm going to watch that. That's going to be something to watch this week. So Carlos, we got good golf from Muirfield 2 weeks in a row. No fans. I'm sure the television networks love it. More people are going to watch it on TV because they can't go and see it live. So should all be good.
It should be, and everybody, hey, Bryson's not playing, so it's their chance to go on and try to win.
There you go.
Anyway, let's move on to the Korn Ferry Tour. They will be traveling to San Antonio, Texas, just 5 hours from here, this week for the TBC San Antonio Challenge at the AT&T Canyons course. You know, that's a course that plays at par 72. It's just 7,106 yards, so expect low scoring this weekend. Surprisingly, a name that you won't see there is somebody that lives here in Texas. Will Zalatoris, the world's number one. I mean, the Korn Ferry Tour is number one. Maybe he needed a break. I mean, he like Bryson. I mean, they've been balling all this week since they returned. But also, neither are number 3, Davis Riley, who's the roommate for Will Zalatoris. Maybe they both said, let us take a week off. And number 9, Kyle Jones, off the top 10, they won't be there. Now, some of the names you would recognize, like Robert Allenby, Simon Bay, Alex Schneiderjans, and Alec Cheka, are part of the field. Fred and Icefield in San Antonio there, as the Korn Ferry Tour starts to get more and more in the thick of it after the return from the pandemic lockdown.
Yeah, you kind of covered, you touched pretty much all the bases there. Everything that I had on, it's at TPC San Antonio, the Canyons course. Great place down there in San Antonio, beautiful place to go to. Not that far from you. You should slip on down there. They won't let you in, but that's okay. But no, I don't have much more. It's normal Korn Ferry Tour field. Good mixture of some older guys and some younger guys. So you're not picking a winner this week, Carlos?
Let's see. I'm gonna go with Dylan Wu.
There you go. Good pick. Yeah.
I think he's due to win again, so I'll go with Dylan Wu.
Good pick.
Anyway, with that, Fred will wrap up our 4 calls, so if you can tell us about Boyne.
Boyne Golf is offering fantastic deals right now for stay and play at any of the 3 Boyne resorts in northern Michigan. The Mountain, Highlands, and Bay Harbor have 10 exciting golf courses ready and waiting for any golf group or family vacation. In addition, there is a huge water park at the Mountain. There's arcade for kids, a luxurious spa for mom, spas at every location, all 3 places. And oh, did I mention there's 10 great golf courses? What's not to like at Boyne? Boyne has it all. Visit boynegolf.com, BOYNE golf.com. Make your reservation now, Carlos.
Now, let's go for our pieces of news, and we're going to start talking about the PGA of America Board of Directors voted to rename the Horton Smith Award effective immediately. I mean, it will be replaced with the new PGA Professional Development Award, honoring a PGA member for outstanding contributions to professional education. The Horton Smith Award had been presented annually since 1965. So we're talking about 55 years of history there. Smith was a two-time Masters champion, a long-time pro at Detroit Golf Club, who served as a PGA president from 1952 to 1954. He was a defender of the Caucasian-only membership clause, which was included in the PGA bylaws from 1934 to 1961. The PGA Professional Development Award retains the previous criteria that showcases individuals who have demonstrated achievements in professional education. Now, the decision to change the name of the award was based upon review of its namesake. PGA President Susie Whaley said in a press release announcing the change that it's what they are doing in part as part of the inclusion and diversification efforts and a way to take ownership of what she called a failed chapter in the history of its unit, where a lot of members were excluded from earning the coveted PGA member badge. The first PGA Professional Development Award will be presented October 27th to the 30th during the PGA's 104th annual meeting in Hartford, Connecticut. Fred, this is just another of these movements that is being done all across the professional sports, where we're following the inclusion and trying to, in this case, it would be to limit the references to some of the people that were not, at some point, and I am trying to sound respectful about this, somehow, we're not an example of what we are trying to portray right now, which is being respectful and inclusive of all the different races and all that. So I'm going to ask for your thoughts, and then I'll wrap it up with some of mine.
Well, Carlos, as you can imagine, I've got a couple problems with this. So I'm just going to be politically incorrect here and say my piece. I'm sure I'll catch some crap about it. Number one, this guy, he had history, right? He won the Masters twice. He won the first one in 1934. He won again he backed it up in 1936. When he retired from competitive golf, he became a well-known club pro at Detroit Golf Club, the same club where the Rocket Mortgage Classic was held this week. Now, the PGA, in all their wisdom, and I'm beginning not to become a Susie Whaley fan either. I thought I liked Susie Whaley, but I don't know. I'm on the fence right the minute. I'm not a big PGA fan anyhow. So they picked this week when the tour is at Detroit Golf Club, and they got these press guys there to announce this. Horton Smith is like a god at Detroit Golf Club. He was a longtime pro there. He was really beloved, okay? So first, I got problems with that. Okay, so he won the Masters twice. He had 32 PGA wins. He won 8 events in 1 year one time. He served in World War II. He was on 5 Ryder Cup teams, was inducted into World Golf Hall of Fame in 1990. So this guy was no slouch, okay? He was good for golf. Now, the PGA ran professional golf up until 1968 when Jack and Arnie got the rest of the guys to split from the PGA and formed the PGA Tour. During the 50s and 60s, the PGA did not allow African American membership and actively worked against entrance to events. That's wrong. We all agree that was wrong, okay? But that was the state of the world at that time. We have talked about the past about Lee Elder's difficult journey, plus the discrimination for Charlie Sifford and other black golfers. We've talked about the discrimination for the women of color on the LPGA tour. It was a fact of life. It wasn't right. That's true. But you don't need to. How does taking Horton Smith's name off a trophy help that? I don't get that. Plus, you have to remember that when Smith was involved as the president of the PGA, private clubs were segregated. Not only along the lines of color, but ethnicity, religion, and economic status. There were Jewish-only clubs. There were, whatever. That was the norm for the day. So I'm not saying he was right in any way, shape, or form. I don't think the PGA was right in announcing it the week of the Rocket Mortgage Classic at Detroit Golf Club. I think that was really a slap in the face of Detroit Golf Club, and I'll bet they are just madder than old wet hens at that. But he, Smith was brought up in Arkansas, so I mean, he from the South, kind of a victim of his surroundings. So I'm a very big believer in history, in understanding history, so we don't repeat our mistakes. So if we wipe all these guys off, if we tear down all these statues, if we take them out of the books or whatever, do we forget this stuff then? Do we just, we don't learn from it? I don't know, Carlos. It just seems like it's going too far for me. And I know I'm an old white guy and maybe I'm not as sensitive to the issues I should be, but it just seems like we get on these media campaigns and it's like the riot mentality. We just go too far and everybody says, oh, we have to do something. It's like Chicken Little. Oh, the sky is falling. We got to do something. We got to do something. The PGA doing this, I think, is absolutely ridiculous, but more power to them. They didn't call me for my opinion.
It's I'm on the fence on this one because I understand the reasoning of why people want to get rid of some things that might remind them of something. My issue is with this. I think we should draw a line at some point, and that is hey, I'm a man of color, so I'm just expressing it like I see it. I think, like, I find it ridiculous that they want to change the name of the Washington Redskins, of the Cleveland Browns, the Cleveland Indians, of the Atlanta Braves, the Kansas City Chiefs. Dudes, I mean, at some point, because somebody found out on a book and read it that somebody did something, now that person has to be erased from history. No, it shouldn't be. On the contrary, and I believe in what the NFL said the last time that they wanted to change the Redskins. They're not trying to make them a symbol of inferiority. They're trying to elevate what the Redskins are. And there was even a survey among the Native Americans, and about 90% were not going to be offended, are not offended if they call them the Redskin. So, there's some things, and I understand their sensitivity and all that, and I might also get some grief about this, but you have to draw the line at some point. I mean, history passed, we learned from it, we corrected. That's what we're doing. We have to move forward correcting that. Yes, there are symbols that you have to take away, but it's not just because somebody did something wrong, you have to forget about it. Just correct it. Okay, from now on, let's move forward. Let's make things better. But hey, that's seems to be very sensitive for some people at some point, and I understand it. Again, I know there's some minorities for a reason, and we have felt it in every way. But look, let's move forward together. Let's forget about, yes, we know the past is there, but let's see what we can do now to make the future better. It's not about going to the past. The past already passed. You're not going to change it. We are not going to change it. That was done. There's nothing we can do to change what happened. Okay? We can educate people about it and make it better. But again, I think we're going to get some grief about this. We might lose some sponsors after this one, Fred. So anyway, let's leave it there and let's talk about the European Tour and Thornbjörn Olsen, because they have lifted his suspension after what is an unprecedented delay in court proceeding due to COVID-19. He can now tee it up later this month at the British Masters, which would be almost a year since his last appearance on the European Tour. His court case has been pushed back, and when I read this, I was like, what? I mean, to December 2021. Thank God he was not in prison. It would have been amazing. I mean, after discussions with his legal team and the European Tour, has confirmed he can get back to competing. He's a 5-time European Tour winner, and his suspension began in August 6, 2019, after he was arrested and charged on 3 counts following an alleged incident on a flight from Nashville to London in late July, following the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational. I mean, he has pleaded not guilty to all 3 charges. His trial has been pushed back significantly, and that, I think, is just an understatement. Meaning his suspension would have lasted over 850 days if it remained. Now, you might say, what if he's guilty? Well, I don't know, but that's what the presumption of innocence is all about. So the European Tour also says that it will review Olsen's suspension after the trial. So he recently played at the Danish PGA Championship. He apologized to his fans. He said that was the toughest thing he's done. Fred Olsen is back. His suspension lifted for the moment. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, yeah, it was stupid. You got to give him back. You can't just leave him on suspension forever. If they could have got to court and got something done, well, then that's fine. But this is just drug on because of COVID. No courts working. You got to let him play. But the other thing is, he says he doesn't want to. They initially agreed that he would not participate in tour events while the legal proceedings were outstanding. So he's thankful to the tour for allowing him to play, but he said while the case is still going on, he's not going to make any comment about it and probably not going to play for a little bit yet. So this is really an unfortunate thing. Ian Poulter was with him on that plane, so I'm sure he's going to be called for a witness. We're going to have to see how this whole thing plays out, Carlos. But it's because of this whole pandemic thing. It's just going on forever. It's too bad.
Yeah, I think also because of the legalities and all this, he cannot comment on the case. So it's not that he doesn't want. I think he just can't. So, but we'll see. Anyway, I think it's just like everything. He's not in jail. So if he's not in jail, he should be able to earn his work and his job. Yep. His money. So. We'll see. Until proven guilty, that's what you should do. Live your life on. Now, Hero Indian Open, the biggest golf tournament in India, was on Friday canceled owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. That tournament is co-sanctioned by the European Tour and was earlier scheduled to be held from March 19 to the 22 in Gurugram, but it was postponed. Now, Women's Indian Open was also canceled last Tuesday due to the pandemic. Devang Shah, the chairman of the Indian Golf Union, said they had planned to host the event sometime in October, but were forced to shelve the plan because of the worsening COVID-19 situation in the country. So, Fred, another victim of the COVID-19, not only was the men, also on the women's side, both Hero Indian Opens canceled.
Yeah, they were going to move this thing clear on out and still say, hey, we better not do this. It's just, this has been a crazy year for everything. And I think in a lot of ways, Europe or Asia is even in worse shape than we are here in the United States. We're able to move around and kind of do pretty much what we want to do. I'm not seeing a lot of problems where I'm at. We may have to wear a mask here and there, but in some of these other countries, they don't have the medical facilities, they don't have the equipment, they just don't have the stuff to be able to handle a large number of infection. So they have to take more precautions, and this is one that they just thought they had to do, Carlos.
Most definitely, and hopefully, we can see the worst of this past us pretty soon, because definitely, this has got to stop, man. Somehow we have to move past and hopefully get back to some of that normal, whatever new normal is going to be. Hey, this is an interesting story. Phil Mickelson, he has always hit the long ball. He certainly had some, I don't know if I should say this, some sense of style, right? Now it looks like he'll be attempting to bring both together. According to a tweet by Josh Gerben, who is the founder of the Gerben law firm, he indicated that Mickelson is putting the proper paper in place to start a new line of clothing in the future under the name Hit Bombs. Well, that, I think is going to be a hit. But anyway, the filing took place earlier last week. Mickelson had been a little busy playing golf of late, right? He led 2 weeks ago at the Travelers Championship heading into the third round. But then he faltered with a 1/71 Saturday to drop 6 shots on the lead. Now, he wouldn't be the only high-profile golfer to enter into the apparel game. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, Greg Norman, a host of others, I guess. I mean, even Bill Murray have released apparel lines for golf. However, Fred, the Hit Bombs line would be unique, and I think that with Phil's recent dedication to sunglasses, I mean, it wouldn't surprise us to hear that this is part of a bigger bomber strategy.
Who wouldn't want a coffee mug that says "Hit Bombs Today" on your desk, right? And you just get you fired up, man. Get that first cup of job in you. Get fired up for the day. Make that big sale. You know, entering Augusta National for the going down Magnolia Lane for the 2019 Masters, Phil was riding with a cameraman, and he looks over at him and says, "You know what?" He says, I just reached 125 miles an hour clubhead speed last night. You know, he's 49 years old. He's swinging it faster than he ever has. So he said, "I'm going to go hit some bombs today at Augusta National," where everybody picked that thing up, right? You know, Lefty's going to hit bombs. And so he, Phil, the thrill isn't good enough for him. He's got to have hit bombs. But so we're going to see T-shirts. We're going to see coffee mugs. Who knows what we're going to see, see beach towels, whatever, right? Hit bombs. So that's Phil. You know, he's got a, you hit it right. He's got a sense of something. I'm not sure if it's style or what, but he's got a sense.
I can see some sunglasses, some joggers. I think he was testing the field there last time. So
the joggers, those got to go. Those were ugly. Phil, that doesn't work for you, buddy.
Hey, but maybe he's trying to appeal to a younger crowd. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, another development tour in the UK is set to launch in the coming weeks. This time is Scotland's Paul Lawrie behind the series, which is helping fill the tournament void that left in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The Scottish-based Tartan Pro Tour has an impressive list of venues to start, including Carnoustie, Royal Dornoch, and St. Andrews, Jubilee, and new courses. Now, the events organized by Lawrie's 5-Star Sports Management and Events Company will be open to both male and female professionals and played over 36 holes across 2 days with a maximum field of 72. The entirety of the entry fees will go into prize funds, which will be supplemented by corporate sponsors. Now, the tour's official partners are Farm Foods, Gym Rental Company, Blue Group, Cloud Cube, Paul Lawrie Golf Center, and the RNA. The leader of the Order of Merit at the season's end will receive invitations to the Challenge Tour. So this will be some kind of a feeder tour for the Challenge Tour next year. The tour will be kicking off August 5 to the 6th at Carnoustie, which we all know is the site of Lawrie's 1999 British Open victory. Fred, I really think this is another great idea, and I applaud Lawrie for it. I mean, more golf development. It's just another way to get players to be active somewhere and get a chance to hone their skills and maybe reach the big tour someday. As long as you keep opening that, and not only that, making some more golf available under this pandemic world that we're living in. I mean, we have to applaud it and promotion it as much as we can, because anything that is to develop golf, it deserves attention.
Outstanding. Great idea from Paul Lawrie. He's been working with junior golf and doing some different things. So he really is looking at the grassroots and trying to build golf up. And, he's from Scotland. Scotland's the home of golf. What a better place to do this. As you mentioned, they're going to give the Order of Merit winner for this thing some exemptions in the Challenge Tour stuff. They're working together with some of the other minor tours over there in Europe. I think this is a great deal. Anything to get young people, young pros out there working at their craft, learning how to play competitive golf. I think this is a wonderful thing. And, we saw Justin Rose doing it for the women in the UK this summer. So they've got some places to play. Now we got Paul Laurie doing this. This is good stuff, Carlos. I think it's great.
It's definitely it, and we applaud him for it. Can't wait to see and report on it. So we'll be definitely keeping our eyes on all these developmental tours. Now,
I'm sure you'll be watching it just to figure out who the next new person coming up is going to be, right? There you go.
There you go. There you go. That's why you have to keep an eye on those tours. Those are the ones that tell you who's going to be the one.
There you go.
But anyway, let's talk about Francesco Molinari. I think he's California dreaming, right? Because he's Italian born. He announced on Twitter that he plans to move his family's residence from London, where he has lived for the past 11 years, to the U.S., where he has played most of his golf since 2015. And specifically, he's moving to the Golden State. Molinari and wife Valentina, his kids Tommaso and Emma, are expected to move ahead of the PGA Championship, which he hinted would be his first tournament since the PGA Tour resumption in June. Molinari, he's now 37. He won the 2018 British Open, but has been mired in a slump. I mean, since winning the 2019 API in March and squandering the lead at the 2019 Masters on the back nine on Sunday when he hit the water on both 12 and 15, it's been like a down spiral for him. He has dropped to number 37 in the old official world golf ranking, withdrew from his title defense at the Arnold Palmer. He cited a back injury back then. We don't know if that's been part of what's been affecting him. He did compete in the opening round of the Players before it was canceled because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, Fred, the news of his impending move comes as a bit of a shock to his European Ryder Cup teammate, Tommy Fleetwood. He tweeted, I don't know if it was serious or not, several crying emojis, and wrote, "But you said you'd never leave me." But anyway, you might remember the partnership 2018 Ryder Cup. They earned their nickname Mollywood because they work a 4-0 mark as a tandem. So Molinari, I guess, is part also of what the pandemic situation is. The European Tour is definitely in very deep trouble because they cannot travel the world like they do for their tournaments. So Molinari, Fleetwood, and others that live in Europe are very limited as how they can provide to their families because of the problems of traveling as well. So it just makes sense that he says, I'm already 37. I'm not a young guy. I have to provide for my family. Let me just go where I'm playing anyway, most of my tournaments. That way I'll be there. I won't have to go through the quarantine process and we'll be playing full time here in the States. So I think it's a great move for him. Very well thought out, and more kudos to him.
Yeah, it makes sense. He's 37. He's got another, 4 or 5 years of real prime time here to make a bunch of money. You can't make money any better place in the United States in pro golf because this is where it's all at. You can fly around the United States a lot easier than you can fly around Europe. So it just makes sense. There's more money here. It's easier to play, bigger tournaments. The European guys may not like it, but this is where you got to go. I would, I guess you can make great flights out of LA, especially international flights. I would have thought maybe Florida or Texas would have been better for him, but evidently his family wants to go to California. They see, they want to go to Hollywood and see all the bright lights. So, now he's going to have to pay 12% state income tax out there. He might not like that either. So, Phil's getting out of Dodge. He's going to Florida where there's no income tax. He's finally seen the light. So there's ups and downs. I don't know. I guess it's, California, I guess it's safe out there. It's pretty nice. Probably better to be in California than London about 10 months out of every year. So more power to him. But it seems to make a lot of sense, really, with the time that he has left in golf to be living in the United States someplace.
It doesn't rain as much as London, right? But I was shocked to see that he was going to California Maybe he said, I don't like the hurricanes, so I won't be in Florida. I'll move to California. Hey, but
You can settle for earthquakes then.
that was what I was going to say. You're giving up the hurricanes for
Yeah.
earthquakes. So
Yeah.
anyway, and the taxes. That's what really got me. I was like, wow. I mean, Florida uh, tax
For
free.
these guys that make, for these guys that make 10, 15, 20 million dollars a year or more, 12%, that's a lot. That adds up pretty quick.
That's over $1 million if you make $10 million. So it's not it's a big piece of chunk.
Yeah.
But anyway, Fred, it's time for our practice range. Every week, you and I pick a topic. We take our own shots at it. And this week, we're going to talk about the FedEx Cup Playoffs. Yes, there's going to be FedEx Cup Playoffs before the majors. But anyway, I don't know how this is going to happen and how this is going to work. I mean, just they start in 36 days. The season ends in 2 months. This is all crammed up, Fred. I mean, how is this going to work out? How do you see that? There's a lot of players right now because of how the pandemic lockdown worked out, that they're big name players out of the FedEx Cup playoff. What do you see is going to happen? What's your thoughts on it?
Carlos, in researching for this, there's a lot of stuff here. I was kind of amazed, actually. As you say, it's just right around the corner. It's not that far. The FedEx Cup will end exactly 2 months from today. So we're right here at the end of the season right now. You've got the 2 events in Columbus right now. They're going to Minneapolis. They're going to the WGC in Memphis, which then you got the Barracuda, which is opposite that. Then you got the PGA Championship out in San Francisco. You got the Wyndham back in North Carolina. And then you go to the FedEx Cup Playoffs. So, I mean, we are here. Top 5 right now. You got Webb Simpson is number 1. Justin Thomas, number 2. Sung Jae In, number 3. Bryson is 4. And Rory is number 5. So those are the guys that have been playing really good. We talked about Webb earlier. We talked to Bryson earlier. We talked about Rory earlier. Justin Thomas kind of been under the radar lately. Who's out right now? You got Ricky Fowler is way down at number 84, and he actually moved up 24 spots this week. He was outside 100. Will he work his way into the top 30? I would think he probably would. He'll have a couple good weeks here out of these next 4 or 5 events, so I would expect him to move up more yet. The really big name here is Brooks Koepka. He's at 155, Carlos. That's way outside 125. What does he have to do? He's got to win once or twice. He needs to throw in 3 or 4 top 10s in there if he doesn't have a win to get himself moved back up the leaderboard there on the FedEx Cup standings. So he's way out of this thing right at the minute. You got Phil is way down at number 90. He's been showing signs. He'll probably throw in a couple good tournaments along the way. Another guy, Tiger Woods, is clear down at 41, but he has not played. He's played in exactly 3 events this whole season. 3 events. He had the win at the Zozo over in Japan last fall. Since the beginning of the year, this year, he had a T9 at the Farmers, and he had a 68 at the Genesis in February. That's all he's played. That is it. So, and he's still, in 41st place on the FedEx Cup. John Rahm's at 24, Dustin Johnson 22. Sergio, your boy Sergio, he's on the cut line there. He's down at 122. Jordan Spieth, he's played 11 events, had 3 top 10s. He's number 95 in the FedEx Cup, Carlos. So some of these guys got some work to do to move themselves up if they want to get into that final 30.
They do. I mean, there's a lot of movement that needs to happen, not a lot of tournaments to do it. So I expect maybe starting on the Memorial for everybody to start picking it up. And even though, and we didn't talk about this, but Tiger Woods is still not decided. He has until Friday to decide whether he's going to play at the Memorial. I mean, it's like widely expected that he will. Maybe he's just trying to make a splash and say it, that he's going to be there. But, there's another player that is also out, Shane Lowry. He's out of the playoffs right now at 125. He's out of the 125. He's all the way down to 144. Like you mentioned, there's some other big names, but they're all already inside. Justin Rose, he's at 113. That is really low for him right now. He's starting right now this week at the workday. Jason Day's 101, Jordan Spieth, you mentioned 95, the Phil Mickelson 90. It's a very different situation right now. Matthew Fitzpatrick, some of the players that we know are not going to make it, or at least because they have not decided that they're going to be here, like Tommy Fleetwood. We don't know if he's going to be back here and play and try to make it. He's right now 76. So, yes, there's not a lot of tournaments. They would have to play in this already compressed schedule a little bit more. But when you look at that top 10 or even the top 30, which are the ones that would pass to the Tour Championship, and with all due respect to them, but you see names like Benny Ann, Tyler Duncan, and I'm going up from the 30, Tom Hodge, Harris English, Nick Taylor, Scotty Scheffler. I mean, names that you would say would not normally, unless they start doing it during the playoffs, wouldn't be there. So there's still a lot of tournaments to go. We know that the PGA Tour had the revised schedule. It's not, I mean, they still have the PGA Championship now in August, but the FedEx Cup Playoffs start August 20th. So we're talking, like you're saying, it's just a little over 30 days. So the Memorial, the 3M Open, the WGC FedEx St. Jude, the Barracuda, which is the Open, like you mentioned, the PGA Championship, Wyndham, and that's it. We're talking about 6 tournaments only left to do a lot of movement. So, yeah, I mean, Fred, it's going to be a lot of players that we're going to see there. I even think that the ones that don't make to the FedEx St. Jude, I think that Barracuda is going to be one that is going to be very filled out from players trying to move and get there to make it to the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Well, another point of this, Carlos, is the majors. So the majors offer more FedEx Cup points. And so you get the Masters and the U.S. Open are after, so they're not even a factor. You've only got one major here, the PGA Championship, to get extra points. The WGC has a few more, and the Memorial has a few more. So these guys, the Memorial, the WGC Memphis, and the PGA become very important because those have bigger points, and these bigger players are playing in them. So for some of the lesser guys, you know, not so much, but these bigger guys that need the points, those are the place to pick them up. So these guys are watching that, Carlos, and those 3 tournaments are really important for the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Well, I think that's also a reason why we see, even though the workday is just a $6.2 million tournament, we see a lot of players like Brooks Koepka coming back, Justin Rose, Patrick Reed, all of those players going in there, but specifically Koepka and Justin Rose, they need those points. So they have to try to get to those tournaments. Maybe the 3M Open in Minneapolis, that would be one that in the Twin Cities that might not be as filled with a lot of big names, but because they have to do a lot of that movement and shifting before they get there, it may draw up some big names there. So we have to be watching all this because anything can happen, and we are just getting into the crunch of time of it. It's incredible. When you mention it, it's just over a month left for the playoffs and not much place to do your move. So I think we're up for an interesting home stretch, like if they would say in the.
It's a sprint. It's a sprint right now. It really is. So we've been dinking around all year, but right now in the next 4 or 5 weeks, if you want to get in the FedEx Cup playoffs, it's important right now.
It definitely is. And with that, we'll wrap up our practice range, but definitely that's one topic that we'll be touching every week from now on is the FedEx Cup playoffs. They're coming very fast at us, and there's going to be a lot of shift and moves there to see who's going to make it to the 125. Now, let's go to our final thoughts. And I don't know if you have seen it yet. If not, I urge you.
Or maybe we've watched it several times.
I mean, this was it should have been maybe the news of the week. If you haven't done it, Google it. Go to YouTube. Go Ho-Sung Choi's whiffed on the Korean tours. He was playing the Busan Gyeonam Open. And when you see him, I mean, he doesn't have the prettiest of golf swings, right? But
there's a lot going on in that guy's golf swing. There's a lot going on.
I think that this is a lesson for everybody. Why not to do it that way? He whiffed at the ball, okay? And if you see it in slow motion, the ball takes a little while to drop off the tee. Thankfully for him, it didn't pass the tee marker, but he was like looking at it like dumbfounded. What happened? I mean, the ball's still here. How did that happen? How did that happen? Then he looks. This is what got me. He looks at the caddy.
What do I do now? Yeah.
No, it looked like it was the caddy's fault.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did I miss this? Dude, you missed it by 2 feet behind it. You hit the ground 2 feet behind the ball. That's the reason why you missed it. It wasn't caddy. He didn't put it in the wrong place.
If I was a caddy, I would have been turning around laughing so hard. I
would have been like this. Yeah. You're gonna be YouTube. You're gonna be YouTube. That's what I would have done. But
ESPN, baby.
No, man, I was like, and he's a pro. He does it. If I do it, I mean, I wouldn't laugh that much. But anyway, I think it was just a funny story of the week. So that's it.
Carlos, this is a story I absolutely hate. In the Carolinas Golf Association, in a recent junior golf event, a golfer tested positive for COVID, and the parents hid it and went ahead and let the kid play in the tournament. So he's exposing his competitors, he's exposing the scorers, the volunteers, everybody around the tournament. What kind of message does that send to your kid? It's okay. We'll just, that is so wrong. Well, the Carolina Golf Association ended up suspending that child from future events. So I don't know how long they're going to do it, what they're going to have to do to get him back in. But the parents obviously are to blame for this. What are they thinking? Come on, give me a break. It's one junior tournament. If the kid's sick, get him out of there. Yeah, I guess the other thing was the Tiger Woods. We talked about that. So, that really makes me mad. Carlos, the Ohio Golf Journal July issue will be out on Wednesday morning. I got that special article in there just for you. You're going to want to watch that. We've got the Michigan Golf Journal is out there right now. If you haven't seen it, we talked, the big flood was in Midland, Michigan last month. It completely washed out Curry Golf Course, which is a municipal in downtown Midland. There was 10 feet of water on that golf course. Great article in there talking about what they've done to get that back and up and going again. If you've missed it, Tom Lang did a great job of covering the Rocket Mortgage Classic on his website, the Michigan Golf Journal. You can see the updates, all the information from there. He did a great job covering that. We've got a lot of video, Back Nine Report TV. We're doing the Back Nine Report. Carlos, we got a lot of stuff going on. Just have everybody come and see us.
Well, Back Niners, that will wrap up another week of the Back Nine Report. Thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest on the world of golf. Don't forget to see us again next week here on YouTube, or if you missed it, check it out, the audio version on iTunes or TuneIn. And if you haven't done so, follow the show. On Twitter, our ID is at Back Nine Report. The number 9 is in the middle. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Altvater. We wish you to be happy, be blessed, and enjoy the great game of golf. Happy golfing, everybody.
Hope we see you on the Back Nine. Night, everybody.